And the kind of bounce that one would have expected from 66.30, 66.50 hasn't really materialized. And even on the bank nifty, what appeared like a breakout, some time back, is now failing, below 13,000, 13,020. So if that happens, bank nifty can easily go back to 12,900, and that will lead to further weakness on the market. The problem, it appears that there isn't strong enough buying to take the market higher. As you've seen, flows, etc., have been tepid at best. So basically, at all higher levels, there is some amount of problem.
Right. Ashwini, stay with us. I'm going to come back to your stock ideas. But first, let's hear it out from Finance Minister P Chidambaram.
It should be more than what we attracted in the previous year. And I think FDI of about $27 billion is a good performance. But we should try to do better in 2014-15. As far as public sector enterprises are concerned, I've given numbers. Numbers are available in 2012-13 only for 16 PSUs monitored by the National Manufacturing Competition Council. But for the subsequent years, it is available for 23 PSUs, which is why we have given the two lines there. If you take the 16 PSUs, in 2012-13, they invested 1,11,824 crore rupees. In 2013-14, it went up to 1,16,860 crore rupees. And in 2014-15, they plan to invest 1,22,838 crore rupees. If you look at 23 PSUs, you will find the number in 2014-15 goes up to 1,33,030 crore rupees. We set great store in PSU investment. Profits made by PSUs, of course, taxes are paid, dividends are declared, but a very substantial portion is reinvested as capital expenditure for expansion, for new machinery, for new technology. Public sector banks' capitalization is also a very important agenda. In 2012-13, we invested 12,517 crore. In 2013-14, we invested 14,000 crore. In 2014-15, the demand is for such a large amount of money. The budget is to provide for it. The budget has provided only a modest amount so far. But the regular budget, we hope, can provide more money. But the requirement is about 45,528 crore rupees of additional capital for public sector banks. Some of them have been allowed to raise capital in the market. Government, of course, will put in money, but they will also raise capital in the market. In the second sheet, I've given the breakup of the public sector investment in the 23 companies. So that's only a detail. As a detail that you may be interested to know how our major public sector companies are going to invest 1,33,030 crore in the next year. Now there was another issue about inflation and how selling wheat or stocks of food grain will cool inflation. We agree. Open market sales is one way of cooling inflation. The government has, in fact, over the last 2 years, sold large quantities in the open market. The line in bold will tell you OMS's open market sales. In 2012-13, we sold 69 lakh tons of wheat. And in 2013-14, we sold 61 lakh tons of wheat. We are willing to sell more, but there must be takers. There must be people who will buy in the market. Millers are the usual buyers, but we are willing to sell more provided the market can absorb that quantity of wheat. We have large stocks of wheat. We have used this method, and we will continue to use this method to cool down wheat prices. In fact, prices of wheat and rice have been remarkably stable over the last 2 years. Inflation is largely driven by food articles, and within food articles, as I've said once before, inflation is driven by 5 items: vegetable, fruit, milk, meat and eggs. But we are conscious that selling food grain is one way of cooling inflation. I think I'll stop here. We'll take some questions. Sorry, no. Yes. One moment. No questions on any of these statements? Yes, Pooja. Mr. Deepak Parekh apparently did not read the statement that I released in the last press conference. Many of you have reported it, and I'm grateful. I've pointed out that subsidies are paid at the end of every quarter. A year has only got 4 quarters. We pay subsidies for 4 quarters. The 4th quarter subsidy for the previous year is paid in the 1st quarter of the current year. The 4th quarter subsidy of 2013-14 will be paid at the end of the 1st quarter of 2014-15. This is well known within the government, and I'm sure it's known to Mr. Parekh. Why Mr. Parekh pretends he does not know, I'm surprised. If he says that the 4th quarter subsidy for 2013-14 has not yet been paid and should have been paid in the 4th quarter, then what about the 4th quarter of 2012-13, which are paid in the 1st quarter of 2013-14? I thought this is simple, plain logic, which seems to have somehow escaped Mr. Parekh. I hope he will read my statement, and I hope he will not accuse us of any kind of financial jugglery. We pay for 4 quarters a year. If I pay for the last quarter in the next year's 1st quarter, then last quarter of the next year will be paid in the 1st quarter of the next year. Yes.
I think we are in the process of giving out the subsidy payments for the last quarter of the financial. I suppose oil subsidies are being looked at around 25,000 crore, or gas subsidy of 24,000 crore. We've already taken a parliament nod in the vote and account, so that is under process. Something on fertilizer is also happening. I don't think there's any issue at all.
No, I'm glad. You should bring up Mr. Parekh and tell him this.
So also you mentioned about inflation power now. So what is the expectation of this fund? Do you expect Reserve Bank of India to kind of slightly interest on that?
I don't know what the Reserve Bank of India will do. All I can say is that they are conscious, in fact more conscious today, that their mandate is both price stability and growth. We made that clear in the budget speech. We've made it clear in our discussions with the RBI, and the RBI governor has acknowledged it, that price stability and growth must be kept into account, must be taken into account while deciding policy rates. I'm sure they will keep both in mind while they decide the new policy rates.
During this campaign, economic track record. The last press conference that Yashwant did, he said you will have to be recalled, you have to take another birth to match his track record and finance.
Why would I want to match his record? Am I a fool to match his record? His record is 4.3 and 4.0. So why would I want to match his record?
सर, आपकी सरकार ने पहले विदेशी धंधे को लेकर आम आदमी पार्टी पर सवाल उठाए। अब दिल्ली हाईकोर्ट में आप ही ने उनको कहा कि भाई FCRA का कोई उल्लंघन नहीं किया इन्होंने।
No. Let's finish economics and then we'll go to the subject. I'll come back to you. Yeah.
The oil ministry says that while they have made provisions for 65,000 crore, 5,000 crore is still remaining.
No. The oil minister spoke to me a couple of days ago. I told him, have the audited subsidy statement for the last quarter come. If they have come, please send it to the Department of Expenditure and we will take a look at it. As she pointed out, there is provision in the interim budget. Once the audited subsidy bill for the 4th quarter comes, we will address that issue. We will do it in the next couple of days. I'll come back to you.
सर, एक हफ्ते बाद में नई लोकसभा आने वाली है और इस टाइम सभी लोग चुनाव की गर्मी में बिजी हैं और आप फाइनेंशियल इंडिकेटर्स को डिस्क्लोज कर रहे हैं, तो इसका क्या पर्पज हुआ इस टाइम में? फाइनेंशियल इंडिकेटर्स को पब्लिकली ओपन करने का?
What do you mean financial indicators? We are planning, this is the planned investment for next year. And what is wrong in disclosing what we plan to invest next year?
नहीं सर, तुम्हें ये कहीं पर सभी लोग पॉलिटिक्स में बिजी हैं।
सभी लोग,
अपेक्षा नहीं की जा रही है।
if सभी लोग is not, the elections are over in most part of the country.
Can you take some political questions?
No, we will. Let's finish this first. I said I will. Okay, I see only one last hand on this. On economics. Okay, on one. Yeah, yes.
So one second
Yeah.
question. So on the Jignesha arrest, do you think like, we waited this long, 9 months, and also on the Vodafone matter, what is next now? Because there are two issues here, the arbitration is to make a competition notice, not the fact that...
No. All right. On
And the continuation.
On the matter of FTIL, it is the investigating agency which decides whether a person should be arrested, and if so, when he should be arrested. Government has no say in the matter. This investigation is now being done by the Mumbai police, isn't it? So they have taken a decision to arrest him. I have no comment on that. On the Vodafone matter, you remember that the last decision of the cabinet was that we keep the proposal to withdraw from the conciliation offer on hold until the tax matter is heard and disposed of by the tribunal. But Vodafone wrote back saying, no, we don't want to wait for that tribunal decision. We have decided to go for arbitration. So they've issued a notice of arbitration. We will defend that notice. And now I have already proposed to Cabinet that since they have issued a fresh arbitration notice, the original offer of a non-binding conciliation should be taken to be as withdrawn. That offer is no longer there. We will defend the arbitration notice. I don't know. All right, is this over? Economics is over? Who? Yeah.
To take the FTI question forward, what point do you think it would be appropriate for the government to step in and take charge or set up independent boards for FTX and FTX? Clearly that has a lot to do with investors. It's not just anything anymore.
No, wait a minute. I have answered this question before, but I'll answer it again. MCX is a regulated entity under the FMC. MCX SX is a regulated entity under SEBI. FTIL is a company. As far as MCX is concerned and MCX SX is concerned, the boards have been reconstituted. Independent directors have been appointed. They are under the careful watch of FMC and SEBI respectively. So there's no problem as far as MCX and MCX SX is concerned. Government does not directly supervise or regulate them. It is done through the statutory regulator. As far as FTIL is concerned, it's a company, and the company law will take its course. There is a registrar of companies. It is under investigation. They will take their course. But the two regulated entities are being carefully watched and monitored by the two regulators.
Mr. Chidambaram,
No, let's have your follow-up on that. All right, it's over. Economic.
the political economy.
No, all the political economists put down their hands, and the simple economists put up their hands.
economic
Yeah.
economic ऊपर है.
Yeah.
The requirement of capitalization for banks
Yes.
mentioned is much higher than the infusion funds provided in the budget. So do you have any plans in mind how?
I told you, infusion by government is one method of capitalization. They can raise capital in the market, and they have got some other debentures, etc., which can be converted into capital. So the total capital requirement is high. What has been provided is only a modest amount, but they will find other ways to raise capital. I've said so earlier. There are other ways to raise capital. Yes.
आप एक मजबूत आर्थिक स्थिति की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन पिछले 10 सालों के दौरान डॉलर और रुपये की जो कीमत बढ़ी है तो बहुत ही दयनीय है, जबकि एक छोटा छोटा देश श्रीलंका हो या यूएई हो उसके करेंसी वैल्यू एक समान रूप से चलिए, पैरेलल चलिए, स्टेबल रहेगी, तो भारतीय रुपये की ये स्थिति क्यों है?
Well, we can't get into a theoretical discussion on exchange rate, but I've heard from you a very novel thesis that a particular value means it's a strong currency and a particular value means it's a weak currency. I mean, that assumption is completely wrong. The value of a rupee is, the value of any currency is determined by relative values of different currencies. So you can't compare one currency with another. I just visited Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has a per capita income several times more than India. So the Kazakhstan currency to the dollar is 181. Indian rupee to the dollar is 60 rupees. So you can't really compare. There's no straight point-upon comparison. The value of the rupee is determined by the market. It's a price. It is determined by the market. The correct measure is the REER, the real effective exchange rate. As long as the real effective exchange rate is around 100, that reflects more or less the correct value of a currency. That's the way to look at it, not make simple comparisons between one number of one country and one number of another country. Anyway, we can't have a discussion, theoretical discussion on the subject now. Yeah, you have to wind up quickly. There are others people asking. Yeah? See, we think, and this is just a view, we think that the rupee at about 60 to a dollar, given the REER, is more or less an accurate reflection of the true value of the currency. Yeah, okay. Over? On what? All of good. There's so many economists. Good.
ऑल इंडिया बैंक ऑफ पेपर ने एक डाटा जारी किया है कि कई सारे ऐसे डिफॉल्टर्स हैं जिनको लोन लेकर लोन नहीं मिल पाया।
Yeah, I'm aware of it. See, what they have done is compiled a list of what according to them are big accounts which have become NPA. Now, I'm sure that list is more or less correct. I've asked people to check out the list and get me a copy of the list. But that is nothing unusual. At any given time, 5 years earlier, 5 years later, at any given time, X number of accounts will be NPA in the banking system. The question is, are the banks taking steps to recover the amounts? In the case of willful defaulters, are they taking stringent steps? In the case of businesses which have been caught in the business cycle, are they trying to be helpful to them so that they can recover the money in due course? Banks are doing that, and I'm meeting with the bank chairman again next week to ensure that they are recovering the NPAs strictly in accordance with the RBI guidelines. But at any point of time, there will be a certain number of NPA accounts. Yes. Okay, economics is over now. You have one. Okay, last.
So what is the next round changes the RBI governor? It would not be good for the rating, something like it. We might get these.
Well, I have already expressed my view on the governor. I think the governor has been appointed having regard to his outstanding record. He is an outstanding academic, and his reputation and his work earlier in other organizations. The next government must respect that appointment. Okay.
You're the chief removed. You're the chief removed.
I don't know. I'm answering a question. Okay. All right. Let's move to other subjects.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi was yesterday spotted in EVM enclosures in several polling booths in Amethi.